All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about cell reproduction and why cells divide. Just a second to get things set up here. Remember that you can pause this video screencast at any time if you need to take some notes. Okay, first of all, why do cells divide? There are four main reasons that I want you to know. First of all, to replace old cells or injured cells, to repair damaged cells, to make more immune cells or so that something can grow, and to make gametes or your sperm or egg. That's why cells have to divide. In order to understand some of the cell division things that we're going to be talking about, you need to understand that there's different forms of our DNA depending on whether the cell is dividing or not. In the diagram that I have on the left, this is a cell that is not dividing, and it's a photograph under a microscope on the right. The form of the DNA in that circumstance is called chromatin. It fills up the inside of the nucleus. It's all messy. It looks like messy hair or spaghetti is the way I sometimes to describe it. And it fills up the entire nucleus. We call that form of the DNA chromatin when the cell is not dividing. However, when the cell is getting ready to divide, the DNA wraps up to form something that's called a bivalent chromosome. A bivalent chromosome has two identical sides, a left side and a right side, that are joined in the middle by a protein called a centromere. So on that diagram to the left, if you had a gene for brown eyes on the left side, the opposite side on the right side would also have a gene for brown eyes. So they're identical DNA, they're just joined in the middle by this piece of protein called a centromere. Each side of the chromosome is called a chromatid, and they carry identical information, so we call them sister chromatids. And then just as an FYI, the DNA in a chromosome is wrapped around proteins that are called histones. That picture is called a bivalent chromosome, the prefix bi meaning two. All right, we've seen karyotypes before. This is just a cartoon of a karyotype, but it's just reminding you that we receive two copies of each chromosome, one from your mom and one from your dad. And they come in matching pairs, and those matching pairs are called homologous chromosomes. Remember that the prefix homo means same. These chromosomes are not the same, but they're very similar. So if on the chromosome number 1 from your mom, it has a gene for eye color, on chromosome number 1 from your dad, it also has a gene for eye color. It's just that your mom's might be for blue eyes and your dad's might be for brown eyes. So homologous chromosomes carry different versions of the same gene. That's the word for that is an allele, different versions of the same gene. So different eye colors, for example, carried on the same chromosome. Here's a great diagram that shows a pair of homologous chromosomes. They are very similar in size and shape and have similar banding patterns, but notice that the chromosome on the left is slightly different from the chromosome on the right. Another thing that you should notice is that with each individual bivalent chromosome, the left side is exactly the same as the right side. Those are the sister chromatids. So where we see dark purple bands, the left and the right side are exactly the same. But if you look at the other bivalent chromosome that came from another parent, the banding pattern is just a teeny bit different, but they're very similar. So homologous chromosomes aren't the same, they're similar. All right, and now we need to learn a new word. The prefix di means two, just like the prefix bi means two. So all cells in the body that have pairs of chromosomes are called diploid. And that's pretty much every cell in your body except the sex cells. The sex cells don't have pairs of chromosomes. They just have one copy of each chromosome. And they are called haploid instead of diploid. And I kind of drag out the word haploid. Haploid have half the DNA to try to help you remember what the word haploid means. Notice in red, it has the 1N next to haploid. That's how they signify having half the DNA. And I'm going to switch pages so you can see this. When haploid cells unite in fertilization, they form a diploid organism. So look at the little math equation there. A 1N cell plus a 1N cell makes a 2N cell. So when a sperm and an egg come together, you get an organism that has double the chromosomes. That's it for this first set of notes. We're going to move on to mitosis on the next set of notes.